Yo, ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? Alright, so today essentially what I wanted to do is actually show you the modifications I've done to the OS. This is actually going to be called, I'm going to actually call this the official release of Solos, mainly because I've done a metric fudge ton of modifications to this system and updates, and so at this time it is, I think, reasonable enough to go ahead and actually go through and submit a new release regarding Solos. So at the moment here, you're currently just seeing the login page. I've actually done a lot of modifications to the system, but the first thing you're going to see is actually right now user is actually focused rather than the password. So this makes it a little less ambiguous as to what's going on, so that way it's clear what you're going to do right here. So right now it's already by default set it up to use Earth. All you have to do is just go through and delete it if you do not need to use Earth as the login. But right now we're just going to use Earth because this is the live CD. Okay, I'm going to type in the password, which is Earth, E-A-R-T-H, okay? And then from there, of course, I'm going to go click enter. Now, you're going to know some new stuff here, which is the welcome text I've created. This is the text that actually informs you of the operating system and everything else that's going on with it. Voila, it's Solos. This is me, made by me. License is GPL version 3. And of course, if you need to contact me regarding bugs, any concerns from there, you can go to email me from this address, which is maxim2131@gmail.com. So if you need any assistance or some troubleshooting, I may be able to assist you. I don't guarantee it because, you know, I'm not really in there for the support, but I definitely want to make sure that my operating system is actually functioning at least outside of the box or in the test environment. So anyway, this is the welcome text. You're going to see a lot of stuff here for the welcome information, the index of the system, and a lot of usage tips and tricks that I've provided from the get-go so that you can fully maximize the usage of this OS without any hassles. So as you see right here, all this has just gone through, you know, and I've just a lot of text here that I did on my own here just regarding what's going on. So highly recommend you read the file since I did set it in the system for the greeting. It's actually automatically set to launch at every time that you run the OS, so that's a little bit more, you know, helpful there. This time I'm just going to go ahead and close it and just bring us to the main desktop. So right now this is the main desktop, clearly. I want to actually go ahead and just make a, show you the list I've done so far, comprising what I've done to resolve any issues and fixes and all that, okay? And I'm pulling that up right now here. Right now the issues and things I've done so far is actually comprised in additions, fixes, menu tweaks, and other. And so as you see, there's quite a lot to go through here. Now, additions I've gone through, added the welcome text. I also added a license text that's located within the desktop folder of every account. So for instance, if you actually create another account, the license is actually going to get copied to the new account as well. So you do have that readily available. I've added two programs here, Code Blocks and Tweak, as well as I've also added the installer. So it is using Ubiquiti installer. I did actually not know that Ubiquiti actually had a non-slideshow installer. So this is actually the generic installer, which is excellent. That's what I'd like it to be in terms of just installation. I don't want it to be the slideshow that Ubuntu has for standard systems. So I didn't know Ubiquiti had that, but when I found that out, I was like, oh yeah, I can finally have my installer instead of having to utilize a shell script, which is awesome because it was going to make me cry a lot. Anyway, in terms of fixes here, I've set it such that SM Player 2 keeps its theme, so no longer is it set up to be ugly and pasty white as it was previously, so it's now using the standard theme that everything else is using. SM Player 2 actually is now pointing to the proper MPlayer 2 binary. I actually just found that out on some tests of my own here, that the binary is actually was not located within the ISO of my first release. So now SM Player 2 actually has the appropriate MPlayer 2 binary, so that it actually can watch videos. Okay, I did fix up the icons not showing up in the menu bar. There were several icons that wouldn't show up, as well as some very generic looking icons. And since I did go ahead and I'm just clicking on that here, show you guys here are all the icons. They're all showing as they should, so nothing is missing in terms of icon images. So the menu looks a lot prettier. In fact, though, that brings me up to the next point that I'm going to have here is actually I did a metric fudge ton of menu tweaks, and in fact, this is all the menu tweaks that I've done. Okay, you know, So I've hidden some menu options, I've removed some menu options, and I've played around with it so that it looks as it should and it's ordered as it should be. Continuing on, besides icons here, SpaceFM actually now keeps the wanted layout. So instead of the former ugly default layout of what it was, it actually now opens up to what I want it to open up. And I'll show you guys later in a moment here, okay? Tumblr is just the program that was requested by Ristretto for thumbnailing. I added that. It's super tiny, so I was like, oh, well, okay, I'll add it. And so that was awesome to actually go through and add. I also I don't know exactly through it was just testing or something different, but Steam now actually appropriately runs. It was formerly giving me some errors regarding that file not being found, and I think it was just because I don't know what it was, but I fixed it somehow, so it's awesome. I don't know how I fixed it, but I fixed it, which is great. I also fixed LeafPad actually opening up in the appropriate size for the welcome page, which isn't something that you really kind of knew about because clearly you didn't have the welcome page to begin with, but hey. Let's see, I actually set up the default file manager, so now when we click on the file manager, it will launch SpaceFM rather than request what you want the file manager to be, which is excellent. Let's see here. I actually set up the default user settings for when you add a new user. So it's actually just a simple location. It's Etsy Skell, which stands for, short for skeleton. Basically, I added the appropriate config files and all that to the system, made it as generic as possible so that when you add the new user, it won't get too complicated or confused regarding what it's supposed to do. So that's awesome. It now is set up so that, when you create an appropriate user or new user, the skeletal file system actually gets transitioned over to the new user and you have everything as it should appear as a default lookout. So then, of course, you can go from there and edit it as you please. Okay. I set up some of the options here where the pics folder and the welcome file I actually set up to admin for security reasons, just because it needs to be generic enough that another option, the new users will still have the appropriate grouping listing, but it will be not generic enough such that there's any potential risk for root being affected. So I've set up these particular files to use the group ADM as well as minimize the functions of what they can do within the system. So continuing on here, these are all the menu tweaks. I'm not going to go through them. I also set it up so that i3 lock has the appropriate coloring when you lock this system, which is now black instead of the white. I've removed Telnet from the system just because you have available to you OpenSSH, and so it's definitely a lot more secure than Telnet. So I removed Telnet entirely just to minimize the disk size or image size. I also set it up such that Earth is focused at the start rather than the password for Earth. So basically what happens is when you install the OS, from there, when you install the OS and then you reboot your system to the new operating system, it's going to focus the user. So it's going to, by default, set up Earth to the user, but you can remove Earth and then type in your account name, okay? And of course, there are actually modifications that you can do regarding that, so it doesn't, by default, select Earth. Continuing on, that's really the fixes file here. Going back to the main system here, I just want to display to you guys, SM Player 2 here, and its look. It looks great. I would like to add, and it's just going to take a moment to launch here. So now it looks great instead of that ugly, weird coloring that it was doing. Also, like I said, we modified the file manager, so let me go ahead and see. Now I can click on file manager and it actually launches the file manager rather than requesting it. So this is the default layout that I wanted it to do, which is excellent. I'm super happy I was able to set it up to use the default layout I want to use. So it's doing a 4-pane system. You can modify it to your heart's content. I recommend definitely, if you don't like this layout, by all means modify it to what you want. You can just disable one of the panes, make it long like that. You can actually disable that and that, or that, and make it a 2-pane. Just do whatever you want, but this was the default I really wanted it to be set to. Continuing on here, just quickly to demonstrate here, when you go to a user, click on desktop. Here's your license file, and so of course it gives you the information regarding the public licensing and what you can do with this operating system. Okay. And that's really it, guys, in terms of just modifications and systems. I do want to go ahead and just display the installer for you guys. I promise you it does work. I've installed this system actually a couple of times now just to double check everything goes through. You can I should have actually made that a little bit more clear here. Let me click cancel for that. So you go to your menu. Now you can actually launch the install a couple of ways. You can do it from terminal, which would be Ubiquity, and just type in enter and it will install. Or you can go through here, click on the menu, click on system, swap over and do install Solos 1304, which is supposed to actually say 01.10, but it's not, so it is what it is. Anyway, continuing on, all you gotta do is set in the password to that, so that's Earth, E-A-R-T-H. Clearly wait for that to accept the password here. And we're just waiting for the installation. So here's the installation management system. Click through, select your language, you know, set whether or not you want to do download updates. I'm not going to. You can install third-party software. I don't recommend it because I've actually already set up the Flash plugin information and all that already set up. So I really don't know what you'd need exactly. It says, you know, Fluendo MP3 plugin includes MPEG Layer 3 audio decoding technology. I don't need this. Well, I mean, you can have it clearly if you want, but I don't think you need it for my system. It's got everything you need in terms of running media. So, continuing on, I'm not going to run the checkmark the updates just because I want to make this go through fast, but I'm going to continue on. And it's going to, you know, of course, do the rest of the process request where it says, you know, do you want to use the entire disk, part of the disk? We're going to click just erase the entire disk and use it. This is VirtualBox, so don't worry about that, guys. If you're thinking I'm trying to erase my system, it's within VirtualBox. And then of course it's going to say probably something like pick your time zone. I would be surprised if it said something different. Okay, like I said, pick your time zone. I'm going to set it to Chicago because that is my time zone there. And then of course keyboard layout. And now I would like to mention that I actually set up the OS to not have any other languages besides English. So right now, because of the size of the ISO, to minimize it and keep it within the 700, below 700 megabytes or at 700 megabytes in size, I've removed the language files. So right now we don't have those. But once I work with the system, try to slim it down even further and look for any other issues and stuff like that, I will then go back and re-add those language files. But this time, this is only for English. I do apologize for those you guys who are multilingual or, you know, not English, you know, based. So, but I will eventually add that back to the system once I do minimize the OS a little bit further here. Anyway, of course, you're going to set up a user here. I'm going to set it up to be Tim, blah, 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 Tim, and then, of course, Tim. And then, of course, you're going to just click on continue. It's going to say ugly short passwords and all that stuff. Nobody really cares, which is okay. And it's going to begin the process of copying your files and installation information to the system. Okay, at this point, I'm going to go ahead and actually briefly pause the video while it's installing because I don't want to have you guys, you know, just watch this installing. Once I install it, I'm going to bring it back and give you the guys, you know, the get-go of how everything is going to work. And so right now, I'm just going to pause the recording. I'll be back in a moment. Okay, and actually did go back through now, and it says now, do you want to continue testing or restart now? We're just going to click continue testing and actually just shut down the system properly here. So what's going to happen is I actually need to go ahead and swap out the ISO so the system will go through and appropriately look to the proper spot. Let me go ahead and just power off the machine. I may be able to just go ahead and go into the settings and just modify it so it says reset here so that it does look at the appropriate information regarding that. Let me go ahead and see if I can do that here. Click OK. And it's still indicating it's very likely looking at the ISO. So let me go ahead and launch the file manager here. I'm going to go through, we're going to move the ISO out of here into Sega Genesis for right now. And of course now we're going to go ahead reset it so that it will go back to looking at the actual standard installation disk here. Okay, click reset, click it just one more time just to make sure it knows it's resetting. Click OK. I'm going to go back to hiding Space FM for the moment here. And now as you see, if this is going through as it should, it's going to register that it is looking to its new installation. Let's hope. Anyway, continuing on, so right now it's rebooting the system. This is, like I said, installed now. As we just saw, you know, it's gave you the confirmations with that. Now, because I added the user Tim, this is where I actually just delete Earth, and then just type in Tim, and then of course, oops, type in Tim, click Enter, type in Tim again, since that's what I said for the password. And then from there, what's going to happen is Tim is going to auto-launch with the information. Now, as I said, it's giving you the welcome information regarding the particular operating system, and it's actually loading the background as it should. So that was one of the issues I was having previously when a user was added, that it would actually not load the background and it would not load the help information. Now, just very quick tip here while I'm going through it here, guys. To remove the help text and all you gotta do is just type in nano, okay? .x session, .xse session, and then autocomplete for tabbing. Click enter. Either delete this option right here where it says exec, or just comment it out like that with a pound sign. Either delete it or comment it out, and you're good to go. Okay. I'm just going to comment it out. Control X, Y, enter. Now, very speedy suggestion, because you have a new user. For some reason, my operating system installs both the Earth user and the user that you create. So, for instance, Tim, in this instance, right? If you do ls/home, you're going to see both user files there. And that's weird. I don't know why exactly the system installs Earth as well, but to get rid of it, user, USERDEL, Earth, EARTH. Of course, you're going to need to do this with sudo, so let me go ahead and just do that. Sudo user del earth, click enter, type in your password, which is in this instance Tim. From there, sudo, okay, rm tacrf/home earth, and then voila. So that removes the user from the list of users, as well as it removes the home folder entirely for the Earth user home folder. Okay, and then of course if you do an ls of home, you see that the only option that is left is Tim in this instance. Okay, that's just a quick tip. Last quick tip that I'm going to give you guys is, once you do have the installation set up, do sudo, okay, nano, okay, /etc, and then slim.conf. Nano, excuse me, there we go. Nano, N-A-N-O. And then from there, go all the way down where it says focus, there, default user, see, and you're going to set it to whatever you want. In fact, if you want it, you can set it up to Tim, okay? From there, well, I mean, you can set it up to your default username, but from there, since I have it Tim, I'm going to set it to default user as Tim, and then I can actually set it to do focus password and click yes, okay? And that will allow you to go through and just automatically focus the password for the user that you wish to focus that password for. Or you could just do no, and then from there, just have it preset to use Tim as the default user that it puts within the text field. So it doesn't automatically select it per se, but it already is typed in there so that you can just click enter and type in the password if you want to do it that way. And that's really it, guys. I just wanted to show you, regarding the OS, how it's installed right now. This is awesome. It's, you got the pretty looks. Everything is as it should be regarding my OS. This is going to be the official Solos release, okay? From there, I highly recommend reading the welcome file, and if you should have any other questions, use my contact information that provided so that you can maybe get some support from me. Now, I am pretty busy, so I don't guarantee immediate responses, and I don't guarantee responding to everyone who has issues with my OS, okay? I will do my best, but I do not guarantee it, okay? So, if you all want to create a group or, a group that's a support group there, on the YouTube page or forum page, by all means, please go ahead and do that. But, I will do my best to try to answer as many questions and resolve any issues that do arise. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, you know what? I'd just like to say thank you for watching. I'm super excited. I hope you guys enjoy this video, as well as my OS. This is fully set up and properly as it should be. This is going to be the official release of Solos, and I'm very excited. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Watching this video, please rate, subscribe, tell me what you think, and I will talk to you guys later.